Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? Lots of stuff to talk about out there in the world, but what I want to start with is Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson is insane and has been saying some wacky things lately. I think what's going on is that he knows that his audience, his reach, has diminished exponentially since his Fox News days. Now that he's on Twitter, I guess known as X to people with no brains, and that's where his show is. He knows that not even a small percentage of the people that used to watch him on Fox are actually seeing him now, and that means that he has just gone more right-wing, more crazy in order to stand out. And he was at a Turning Point USA rally. I think Donald Trump may have actually been there, I don't know. And he compared Donald Trump to a drunken, abusive father who's coming home to beat the shit out of their kids. I wish I was making that up, but it's true. Why don't we take a look at the video and see what Tucker Carlson had to say. And I apologize in advance for subjecting you all to Tucker Carlson.
If you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room, and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table, if you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're gonna get more of it. And those kids are gonna wind up in rehab. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them. No. There has to be a point at which dad comes home.
Now, first off, I love how the audience just flips out over that. Dad comes home. What they don't realize, of course, is that Tucker Carlson is talking about them. That's the thing. They are projecting this onto their political enemies. The Democrats, right? The progressives, the pink-haired, tree-hugging liberals who can't decide on their personal pronouns and who faint and clutch our pearls every time somebody says something racist. That's who they think they're talking about. But in real life, he's actually talking about them. Those are the people who will be oppressed under a Donald Trump presidency, because oppression from totalitarians does not stop at one group. It applies equally to everybody. And although there's people in the out group who get it the worst, people in the in group are also oppressed. Totalitarianism, fascism, spares nobody. Everyone is essentially equally crushed under the weight of state control. And these people are totally fine with it, as long as it means that they get to dictate to women when they are allowed to have children and what bathroom they're allowed to use and stuff like that. But let's continue on.
Yeah, that's right. Dad comes home. And he's pissed. Dad is pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children, they live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's gonna have to let them know. He's gonna have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna hurt you a lot more than it hurts me.
Now, I'm not the only one, of course, to pick up on the type of language that Carlson is using here. It is, of course, very reminiscent of some BDSM shit. And I'm pretty sure that Tucker Carlson did that on purpose. I'm pretty sure that he's using these double entendres and this type of language on purpose in order to appeal to the more base nature of the crowd there. In particular, the women. You hear lots of women shriek once he said that. You know, you've been a bad girl. It was mainly women shrieking. Because they all want to imagine themselves being spanked by Donald Trump in a bedroom with a magazine, kind of like Stormy Daniels was. Or rather, Stormy Daniels was spanking him, if I believe it. If I recall it correctly. So yeah, a little disgusting, a little creepy, and I always like how these guys, they like to spout how moral they are. You know, we're clean Christians, we're God-fearing, stuff like that. They always like to emphasize that for us. But then they can't go 5 minutes without saying something depraved. Depraved and what they would consider disgusting. See, this is the rub. People on the left don't give a shit about what you do in your bedroom. We don't care what kind of weird freaky shit you get into. In fact, most people on the left are not only cool with that, they're cool with you expressing it in any way that you feel. As long as it's something that's legal and doesn't exploit women or children, or men for that matter. As long as it doesn't exploit people, most of the time, most people on the left are cool with whatever kind of freaky shit you want to do. You're consenting adults can do whatever the hell they want, and it's none of my business. It is the conservatives who are the ones who want to put rules and regulations that limit what you are and aren't allowed to do with the provider of your nookie. These guys always try to pretend that they're good and they're clean, upstanding, moral citizens, God-fearing Christians and all that shit, and then they can't go 5 minutes without betraying the fact that they're a bunch of fucking degenerate lunatics. There's only a couple seconds left of this. Let's watch the rest.
And you earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl. And it has to be this way. It has to be this way because it's true. And you're only going to get better when you take responsibility for what you did. That's not said in the spirit of hate. It's not said in the spirit of vengeance or bigotry. Far from it. It's said in the spirit of justice, which is the purest and best thing there is. And without it, things fall apart.
Without it, things fall apart. So I'd just like to point out something here. This is how Tucker Carlson sees the rest of America. This is how Tucker Carlson sees the 99%. The people who are not in his peer group, the non-millionaires in this country, the actual people who actually do the work that keep this country running, and not the capitalist class of which he is a part of. That's how he sees us. He sees us as children. And he sees what we're doing, the way we live, as threatening. And you can see it right there. It all falls apart. If we're allowed to do what we want, if we're allowed to live the way we feel like it, if we're allowed to have sex with whoever we want, have children whenever we want, or when we don't want to, if we're allowed to terminate those pregnancies, if we're allowed to vote and have a say in our government, it all falls apart. That's what he's referring to. That's what he's saying. I don't even think he meant this. I think this is something that is just seeping out of his unconscious there. Because it's true. If we're allowed the freedom that we are guaranteed under the Constitution, it falls apart for the upper 1%. It falls apart for the capitalist class. It falls apart for Tucker Carlson and his friends because they won't get to exploit us and make millions and millions and millions of dollars and run away to the bank with all the money while we do all the goddamn work. I don't know. Maybe he didn't actually mean it like that. Maybe he meant in some kind of weird biblical Christian sense, like he thinks God is going to come down and destroy us all if we allow gay people to have rights or something. I believe in this same speech, he actually does compare Donald Trump to God. But that's something that I wanted to point out here. He thinks you are a child. He thinks you're a child. He thinks the things you want as your freedoms that are constitutionally guaranteed to you are childish. And he supports a strongman dictator to come and take all that away from us, to spank us like children. That's how he's referring to Donald Trump. As daddy is coming home. He's comparing Donald Trump as the president to an abusive father. Because see, that's what you do with children. You don't talk to children. You don't reason with children. You use force. You force your children to do what you like, and if they don't like it, there's consequences, and that's what he wants. Because he doesn't believe fundamentally in democracy. It's an actual democracy with adults who are exercising their rights in order to take part in the formation of their government and all that. That's something that's between equals. And he doesn't want to admit that he is under the law equal to any of the rest of us. The ruling class can't handle that. They can't handle the fact that they are actually supposed to be equal to the rest of us. And that's why they do the things they do, voter suppression and limiting women's rights and reproductive rights and all these other things. It all stems from that sense of control, so that they get to be in charge. Because it's not a very big leap from those things to allowing corporations to get special privileges, tax breaks under the law that allow them to do things that normal, ordinary people aren't allowed to do. Things like polluting, things like terminating contracts, getting special privileges when it comes to taxes, stuff like that. That's what's really all about, is control. And I just love how he terms it in this language. It's not really just the idea that you have freedom that people like Tucker Carlson don't like. It's also the idea that you would have the audacity to try to disobey him and the dictates of his Bronze Age religion. He doesn't like the idea that people in the United States are guaranteed by the Constitution the ability to worship anything that they feel like and live the way that they feel like. And if he doesn't like it, he can kiss your ass. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that, and he wants to take it away. He wants to take away things like gay rights. Why? Because his religion says it's bad. He wants to take away trans rights because his religion says it's bad. These were the people who, back in the early 20th century, were very pro-Jim Crow. They supported things like anti-miscegenation laws, things like that. Why? Because they thought the Bible told them so. They thought the Bible said that black people were supposed to be slaves and white people were supposed to be their owners. It's the same thing, just applied now to trans people and gay people and women. And he can't handle that. And this, how do you fight back against that kind of thing? You give them a giant middle finger and you vote them out of office. That's how you fucking stop it. Please remember that Tucker Carlson is into some weird shit. He's the guy that not that long ago was bitching that the green M&M wasn't sexy enough. He got mad at Sesame Street for Elmo explaining what racism is to kids. He couldn't handle that. My favorite wacky thing from Tucker Carlson, of course, is the ball tanning. You all remember the ball tanning, right? About 2 years ago, he had this special called The End of Men. Let's just take a look at the trailer for The End of Men. This came out in 2022. Seeing lots of naked men fighting, naked men shooting things, and then, of course, a guy tanning his balls. Tanning his balls with red light. Naked dudes pushing over big tractor tires, chopping down trees, muscles rippling. I don't know why this guy's dunking his... Is that fucking Zuck? Here's a guy eating raw eggs. Right. Tanning his naked body on a thing of red light. This is Tucker Carlson talking about manliness here. This is Tucker Carlson, the moral, upstanding Christian who's going to send daddy home to spank all the girls. Guy who was too, pissed off at M&ms for not being sexy and shit like that. This is what Tucker Carlson thinks masculinity is. It would be laughable if it wasn't true. Of course, I've got a couple of reactions from various people because Tucker Carlson has been getting hosed for this ridiculous video out there on the internet. This I thought was pretty funny from Gary Peterson. Tucker Carlson knows that when we get called into Daddy Trump's study, we come out learning a tough but firm lesson in straight roidism. Straight riotism. Straight riotism? Straighterism. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I could see Tucker Carlson, yeah. Thought this one was funny. You've been a bad little girl in America, and you know what happens to bad little girls when Daddy Donald gets home. Bad little girls get a vigorous spanking when Daddy Donald gets home. Okay, even we have to admit that's weird. Yeah, just a little weird. I really like the way that they drew Trump here with the, ear napkin and all that shit. Canada watching the US news. Daddy's coming home, says Tucker Carlson. This is really creepy. I'm not sure what is happening in the US, but it has reached a whole new level of weird. The world should be concerned. Yeah, we are also concerned, Canada. One more from a Gulf Twitter slayer. Tucker Carlson calls Trump daddy, and we're not supposed to think these guys are weird. I mean, I guess? Of course, the Republicans are taking this completely the wrong way, as they always do. They double down on it and take it completely seriously. This is a response to Nick Adams, who I am still not completely 100% convinced is not a giant troll. I would fight a 20-foot one for Daddy Trump. Daddy Trump. This is less than a day after Tucker Carlson made that ridiculous video. See, what the video that we played didn't show is that after he said that, people in the crowd started chanting Daddy Don and Daddy Trump. It's sort of like when Hillary Clinton called them all a bunch of useless deplorables. And then these assholes started making t-shirts with the word deplorable on it. It's like a way of disarming someone when they call you a name is to just like claim it. Someone calls you stupid, you're like, yep, that's right, I'm stupid. Fuck you, but I'm also correct. Kind of like that. Same kind of thing. Somebody calls you fat, you just say fuck it, you start wearing a t-shirt saying fat ass, and you start leaning into it just to spite them, just as a nice middle finger to them. The Republican electorate is really good at that kind of thing. No matter what kind of criticism you throw at them, they just own it. And they admit it. They admit that that's what they are. They admit that they're assholes. They admit that they're stupid. They admit that they're deplorables. And you're not doing much to change their mind. And the way I see it is like, well then, fuck them. Like, why bother trying to convince these people? The ones that have brains will be convinced. The rest of them will just make a t-shirt, right? With whatever you criticized them in. And like, you know what? It's true. You want to call yourself a deplorable, then good. I'm glad you're admitting the truth. You're fucking deplorable. And I don't think we should bother trying to speak to these people. We shouldn't bother trying to deprogram them. No, what we should be doing is concentrating on defeating them during elections. But anyway, moving on. A couple more of these. Trump is going to be your daddy soon. This is in response to Kamala Harris. Trump is going to be your daddy soon. Okay. One more. This is Donald J. Trump. When I'm president, the McDonald's ice cream machines will work great again. Sure they will. This is in reference to Donald Trump's ridiculously idiotic stunt where he served food out of a McDonald's for 15 minutes and then bailed. And I'm not sure what it is. Like, there's some kind of thing where the Republicans don't believe that Kamala Harris actually worked at a McDonald's. Because, Kamala Harris actually comes from a normal middle-class background like the majority of us. Like, she actually had to work for a living. She wasn't born with a fucking silver spoon in her mouth like Donald Trump was. So I guess they can't handle that shit. And this guy, of course, here says, you got my vote, Daddy Trump. Now, I don't know if these people are being serious, but I would assume they are because, like I said, the Republican electorate are morons, and they don't know how to handle criticism, and they don't know how to do any self-reflection. So when you criticize them, when you say something about them that they don't like, they just tend to own it. Like I said, as a way of telling you to fuck off. So please remember, folks, Tucker Carlson is a fucking lunatic. He's made many comments about the Great Replacement theory, about white supremacism, things like that. He got pissed at the fucking green M&M for not being sexy enough. He got mad at Sesame Street. He did an entire special about naked men tanning their balls. He was fired from Fox News for being a fucking asshole. Right? So there's all kinds of reasons why nobody should ever listen to anything that Tucker Carlson says. He's a fucking crazy person. And if you do, you're a goddamn moron. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.